There are some corners of the internet that don't disturb you right away. They just give you a feeling that something is wrong. A video that feels off, a post that gets a little too real, or a person asking for help and sounding like they're already too far gone. And the deeper you look, the worse it gets. Because what first seems harmless, a medical channel, a Reddit thread, or someone asking for advice, can quickly turn into something much darker. Today, we're diving into some disturbing corners of the internet. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And let's get into it. Jeezy Easy. People go to Reddit for just about everything, from talking about their hobbies, movies, or discussing current events. And then there's the people who use it when they need advice, relationship tips, help with school, or even medical questions. Sometimes when it's late at night, there's no doctor to call, and you don't feel like your problem warrants the ER. What better way to get help than the people of Reddit? Yeah, probably not the most reliable source of information, but I guess it could be good in a pinch, for non-urgent questions that is. But then there's people that do have a doctor to call, yet the answers they get there just aren't enough. They look for a second, a third, and a fourth opinion from anywhere they can. They go to places like r/askmedical, r/medical advice, and r/askdocs, which is where user Jeezy Easy posted on August 11th, 2024. But this isn't a typical r/askdoctors post. This is concerning, to say the least. It's titled, "I think I'm going to die soon." 36 male. Hello, I was born with CHD and an aortic heart valve replacement at the age of 13. Long story short, I am now 36, and about 1.5 years ago, my cardiologist stated that my heart is getting bigger with my body. I am 150 pounds today. When growing up, I was of very small and skinny stature. I started gaining weight after I started medications in 2015. In 2015, I broke past 110 pounds at age 27, and since then slowly climbed to 150. Because I'm not supposed to lift heavy weights, my cardiologist told me to do cardio vigorously to lose the weight. When I saw him, it was 1.5 years ago, and I was 140 pounds. He warned me to not gain any more weight. Now that I am 150, what should I do? I'm starting to feel short of breath more easily than usual. I just walked up to the 3rd floor of my job using the stairs, and am feeling like I couldn't breathe. What should I do? What's concerning about this post is that what the OP is dealing with can be very serious. CHD stands for congenital heart disease, and people that suffer from this do have to be very careful not to gain too much weight. It can add extra strain to the cardiovascular system, which in his case is already working overtime. With something so serious, OP needs to see a doctor, like in person, not through a Reddit comment thread. Even physicians on Reddit agree. Someone says, first of all, you should go back to your cardiologist and have them evaluate your new symptoms. But taking a look through OP's account, it doesn't seem like he goes to many doctors. Instead, I found post after post after post of him freaking out over his health. With each one, he never seems satisfied with answers that actual medical professionals give him. So he's desperate, constantly on edge, scared for his life. One major concern of his is dementia. In 2018, 1 year after he created his account, he made a post on r/dementia, seeking help on his concerns about this disease and how he may have possibly gotten it. The OP's post is titled, "Can someone poison you to dementia?" Is it possible for someone so sadistic to do the unthinkable and give you or anyone else dementia? I'm wondering because I think someone may have done this to me, but this person denies it, saying no one can poison someone to have dementia. And another one of my friends said the same thing. Yet, the official dementia website says otherwise. So this immediately raised some questions for me because I remembered when reading that first post that OP is only in his 30s. Early onset dementia is a real possibility, but for someone in their 30s, it is extremely rare. Even though the rates have gone up in the last decade, only 110 out of 100,000 people are diagnosed under 65, and 58% of those people are women. On top of that, the average age for the early onset population is 49, so his chances of having dementia are low. Not impossible, but extremely low. On top of that, it's a first for me to hear someone worried that they've been poisoned to have dementia. In fact, when I looked it up, his post was the first one to come up, so this anxiety feels somewhat unique to him. But I'm not sure what info OP is getting that backs his theory, cause I'm not finding it. The only toxins that can cause dementia are carbon monoxide and heavy metals, neither of which are something that someone else is so easily using to poison someone. For something so unlikely, why does this give him so much anxiety? Well, I kept digging. 2 years later, he posts, "Dementia in my family. I am a 31-year-old male living in Florida. About a few years ago, I realized that I have developed dementia, and since have been seeing a psychiatrist since 2015, when I had a major episode of lost feelings and panic after taking a medication. Although I strongly believe I have dementia, my psychiatrist who put me on the medication believes otherwise. He tells me only old people get this devastating disease. Now, for about 1 to 2 years, I am seeing my mother and father with symptoms of dementia, especially my father. Here is an example. My father and I waited for my mother to come back to the car. So my father turns off the key and removes the key. When my mother arrives back to the car, my father thought the key was in the ignition. Another example with my father. He forgets what road he is on. And I tell him, "You don't know where you are? You have lived here since 2005. His response is that he doesn't go on this part of John Young Parkway much. Another example with my father is that he forgets to take his phone with him sometimes when he leaves the house, and forgets his wallet even less often. He also always keeps his phone in his right front shirt pocket, and sometimes reaches there for his phone, forgetting that he already removed it and put it in one of the car's cup holders." Some of the examples of my mother include that she lately started having big panic attacks and is forgetful. She forgets and her memory isn't sharp as it used to be. She has also lost interest in going out and working like she has done all her life, and is extremely depressed for no reason. As for me, I have a mild case of all of these symptoms. When I'm not on the medication, I'm completely demented. For the past few years, I've been starting to think that someone has done this to me and my mom and dad, and I can only think of 2 people. Suspect number 2 lived with us all of our lives and was raised by us. Suspect number 1 always slept over at our house, did lots of white powder in secret, and cooked for us. He would cook various types of dishes for us at his home in Gainesville, Florida, and would bring it to us here in Orlando. He may have had something against us, so he poisoned our food that he cooked for us. He was arrested in 2007 and was charged with a 3rd-degree felony, so he was probably jealous that everyone in my family was happily working, while his felony held him back from obtaining respectable employment. I did not know this about him until I did some research in 2015. He used to tell me that he was my god, and he even told me that I didn't deserve to do the work I did at the time, which was IT work. He even threatened to kill his ex-girlfriend. who I made out with back in 2006. Here is where I need your help. Who should I talk to about this? I am afraid to talk about this to anyone out here, in fear of them thinking I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm very critical and analytical. I used to be an IT guy, so troubleshooting is what I'm great at. I need some advice. That last paragraph is what's really heartbreaking. Who should I talk to about this? It's like he feels he's run out of options. His psychiatrist has told him he doesn't have dementia. Looking at other comments on his account, so have many other doctors. No one is co-signing on his anxieties. He's given up on doctors and is hoping someone on Reddit will assure him he's not crazy and give him some sort of answer, a cure for what's making him feel this way. But it's not just anxiety, it's paranoia, because it's not just the poisoning he's worried about. The OP writes, getting random calls and texts claiming harassment. I think someone is playing a prank on me, forcing me to maybe change my number. I'm getting random calls from tons of people in my Orlando area, and some of them are leaving voicemails and text messages claiming harassment. I feel like an ex-friend of mine is doing this, but have no idea how? Well, whether any of this is real or just something in the OP's head, it seems to be agony for the OP. It's tragic how much his life is wrapped around his health, or more so, his concern over his health. It's destroying him, taking away all of his happiness. The OP writes, I want to S-word myself, but I'm afraid. In 2010, I had a symptom of lost feelings. It was a very short event, a day or so after I smoked weed with a friend. That lost feeling got me in a small car wreck. I didn't know at the time that this friend of mine was a convicted felon who was a white powder addict. I knew him since high school, 2004. In late 2015, I caught him slipping something into my Burger King Slurpee drink. When I caught him, he started laughing. I was pissed off, but I then realized it was probably a joke because I used to always tell him I think someone has poisoned me. Turns out a few days later, I had this lost feeling again, similar to the one in 2010 but longer, and my head was also shaking. I even sent him a video of my head shaking. I let this person borrow $800, which he hasn't paid back yet, and now I believe he has been the one poisoning me this whole time. Why? Jealousy. His criminal conviction was holding him back from getting a good job for years. This whole time we were friends, he was just using me for money, for booger sugar. While using me for money, I now believe he was slipping substances into my drink over the years. One time in 2010, he made a joke about slipping white powder in my mom's tea, and I gave him a bad look. He laughed, so regretfully I brushed it off. I diagnosed myself with Parkinson's/dementia, but no one wants to diagnose me. Had 2 MRIs that showed CNS damage. With this, because I'm only 30 years old, as soon as I realized I have this mind-wiping disease, I've been heavily depressed and have been psychiatrically held here in Florida maybe 3 to 4 times. I started seeing a psychiatrist in 2016, and he gave me medication so I could pay attention throughout the day. I took that every day, and it helped me get through 2016 and 2017. It stopped working in 2018, and I am now on another medication since May. The past few weeks, maybe a month or so, have been hell. I can't fall asleep until 3 hours after taking my medication. I fall asleep at 3 a.m. and wake up at 12 to 1 p.m. and get out of bed by 2 p.m. As soon as I get up, I eat eggs and take my vitamin D to be more alert throughout the day. Even after sleeping around the clock and taking my medicine, I am still tired. What kind of life am I living here? sleeping around the clock and still tired, meds not working again, loss of interest in my job, unable to drive myself to work. Even if I did get a job, no medical insurance and no one cares. I am slowly losing my independence. So why should I live? Why should I be a burden on my old parents enjoying their retirement in a house that my brother bought them? I don't want to live like this anymore. And I don't want to be a burden on anyone. I want to commit S-word, but I am too afraid because I don't know what's on the other side. I'm trying to build up enough willpower so I can commit S-word soon enough with a medication. It was prescribed by my psychiatrist in late 2017. I took only a little bit of a tablet and felt amazing for a few hours, but didn't continue because my brain crashed and I got that lost feeling again. Reading through this post, I can't help but desperately want him to get better. To be able to enjoy life, feel healthy, and be free of all the turmoil. But I don't really see any evidence of that on his account because that first post I read was the last post he made. I think I'm going to die soon. Then, nothing else. Did he die? Is the OP okay? I want some sort of answer or resolution. So I went looking through Reddit to see if anyone else had noticed user GZEasy. Turns out, some did. On r/RBI, of course. For those who are unfamiliar, it's the subreddit that stands for Reddit Bureau of Investigation. And luckily, some users on there were doing just that, investigating this person clearly in distress. A post reads, I have no idea whether this fits on this subreddit, but I will post anyway because I don't know of a better suited one. If anyone has suggestions, please let me know. User GZEasy, the account in question, from what I can gather, the user seemed to have been diagnosed with early onset dementia in his 30s and was posting normally, but then made a series of really weird posts. I'm no detective, and I have no idea if this is a troll, an attempt at getting some Reddit infamy, or seemingly genuine. I personally don't think it's a troll, and neither do the others. Actually, they point out a very important detail that some may miss if not looking too closely. He mentions drugs a couple of times, specifically spice. Spice is synthetic marijuana. It is not weed though. It is a bunch of chemicals that interact with cannabinoid receptors in the brain to mimic weed and induce a similar high, though it's often more potent and much more dangerous. It can cause seizures, tremors, hypertension, heart attacks, the list goes on. It can really change a person, as some commenters note. Yup, people who haven't experienced it probably think this sounds bizarre, but it's a real phenomenon. People literally turn into a whole different version of themselves, typically quieter or calmer, and the occasional mental lapse. Crazy how weed is illegal, but this stuff is readily available, or at least was in past times. And GZEasy has unfortunately mentioned using this in a post on r/near-death experiences. The post has since been removed by moderators, but it's titled Spice. And given the context of that subreddit, one can assume he did not have a good time with it. An experience that seems to have spiraled into a pit of anxiety and paranoia, one that he hasn't been able to get out of. And now he's stuck believing he has a myriad of diseases, all of which are very unlikely in his case. Not only are other users agreeing with this, but he mentions multiple times how no doctor will diagnose him. Thanks. The lost feeling is not what you think it is. It's like a very short coma. Everything goes blank for a few seconds. Doctors and neurologists can't say I have MS or PD or dementia. All they told me was that I have CNS damage. Another post reads, Neuro diagnosed me with MS back in 2015, but didn't put it on paper. Later in the follow-up visit, he said I don't have MS. Odd. Heart doctor told me to see my primary doc, who put me on vitamin D supplements, which seem to help, but psych put me on other medication. I wish we could see what he said in his post about Spice. The commenter who pointed it out on r/RBI says he mentioned convulsions, but that's all we know. I wonder if there were more details that could give us some more context on what happened, or who the user was before Spice. If he was just a normal person living an ordinary life, not in a constant state of fear of death. Something had to have happened during that near-death experience, and now he may never be the same. Though it's not unreasonable to hope for the best. While that last post felt dark, he did make a couple of comments a year later, and they're actually all pretty normal. One on r/PS3, where he talks about giving away his games. While this was still 10 months ago, it gives reason to believe he's still alive, and even doing better. He hasn't made a post in 2 years, and it could be argued that maybe he hasn't felt a need to if he's feeling better. He hasn't desperately needed a medical question answered, or even just a place to vent about how sick he believes he is. Maybe it's unrealistic to be optimistic for user Jeezy Easy, especially spending so much time looking at how far gone he's been. But there's no argument that he definitely deserves to be free of all that pain. He's been looking around every corner, terrified to die any second. Hopefully now, he's just playing video games, happy, healthy, and free. Medical panorama. The internet is full of strange things. People can post pretty much anything they want, most usually oversharing. From the boring, odd, and sometimes unsettling details of their life. Others come across content that feels so random. And that's what it felt like stumbling on a YouTube channel called Medical Panorama. This channel isn't one that's circulating on the front page. It's buried away for people that have fallen into the obscure rabbit hole of weird videos, like the users of r/deep into YouTube. This is where user Philetric made light of what was happening on Medical Panorama. I'm worried about these two narrators, who act like this in every video. They then link a video that has since been made private, but one of the first comments attaches something that I was able to watch. It's titled, Wound Care Medical Microbiology. The video starts out with a young woman introducing herself. Hey, I'm Court. I'm from California. And today, I'm going to be talking about wound care. It then cuts to a clip noting that it's only meant for educational use and should not be taken as advice from a doctor. Which is good because the more that I watched, I don't feel like anyone should be taking any medical advice from Court. First off, it's pretty clear that she's not very healthy. She looks unwell and bruised up, to say the least. This becomes obvious when she reveals that the wound they're going to take care of is on herself. On her upper thigh, she shows what looks to be a hole in her leg. I cannot show it for obvious reasons. It's a little bit graphic, but yeah, a hole in her leg. She starts off by saying that it's a healed wound, and while it does look somewhat okay now, she shows a picture of what it must have looked like when she first got it. And it's not pretty. I will not show it, once again, because it's so gruesome and not something people want to look at. But that's not the only injury on her body. She only talks about one area, but all around her leg are bruises, some pretty big. She makes no mention of this though. It would be one thing if someone, like a doctor, was using her as an example, but why is she the one that's doing the instructing? Educating the viewers on how to medically treat a pretty serious wound, along with other videos on health, medicine, and wellness. None of it feels like something that should be coming from her, because Court never seems comfortable with any topic, like she really knows what she's talking about. It feels more like she's reading off of a script and just saying words. There's nothing behind it. On top of that, what she's saying isn't safe or true. She suggests cleaning a wound like hers with hydrogen peroxide, which is a terrible idea. On an injury like hers, peroxide will only slow the healing process. I found this information in under 30 seconds with a quick Google search. Looking at what actual doctors say about it, quote, hydrogen peroxide is actually detrimental to wound healing, says Dr. Yakovian. It prevents healing rather than promoting it. She's not even providing education, but actually dangerous misinformation. And she's not the only one. Based on Reddit comments, I learned that there's 2 other girls that would appear in the videos. I'm assuming they were in the original video that was linked, but of course that's the private one. But from these users who watched it unfold years ago, I learned there's another girl involved named Gracie. From the clips I can find, she's not much different than Court. She looks out of it, sick, tired even, or more likely, under the influence of something. And that's not just my observation, but others as well. Both Court and Gracie show a lot of common signs of opiate use. Someone says, definitely sounds and looks like they're on some kind of pill. Looks like the marks and everything are from a drug addiction. Noticing this just makes the channel so much more suspicious. Why are 2 girls who are clearly struggling with substance abuse making these videos? Is there something they're promoting? Some medical organization they're a part of? But if so, why does it all feel so secretive? Half the videos I find keep coming up as removed in private, and I'm seeing comments mentioning the channel with a different name. Some refer to it as Medicine of the Milky Way Galaxy, and sometimes Court K. For videos that seem to come off as just innocent and educational, it's odd that whoever is behind it looks as if they're avoiding something or hiding. But I did find a name associated with the channel, Habitat Medicine. A quick Google search of the address gives a clue as to what could be underneath this. The first thing that comes up is a website for a clinic called Habitat Medicine. The homepage is very chaotic, with a couple different pictures of an Asian man who looks to possibly be the doctor in charge of the clinic. Well, it's hard to tell because the pictures are very random and all over the place. Honestly, it doesn't feel at all like a site for a professional and established health practice. Still, this is what it claims to be. The first words you'll see say, "Fight for your health freedom." And then right underneath, "Currently accepting new patients? No." Habitat Medicine specializes in ending chronic diseases and to stop aging through strength. Concierge medicine package for planet Earth, stamina and longevity package, diamond, stamina and youth rejuvenation package, gold, just to be normal self package, silver. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say that a health clinic offering a just be your normal self package is not a trustworthy place. If anyone needs more proof of that, a quick look through the rest of the site is more than enough. At the bottom of the homepage is a consultation form that leads to a health questionnaire. It starts off pretty normal, asking questions about past surgeries, family history, smoking habits, ordinary questions one would be asked in a doctor's office. But it gets weird the further you go. And it goes far. I didn't even get to the bottom. There's probably at least over 200 questions, and many are so unrelated to anything medical. Do you prefer Quiznos sandwiches or Subway sandwiches? If you go to Quiznos, what do you usually order? Write down none if you don't go there. Do you know Thanksgiving Day may not be all that rosy? American Indians got milk sick, mistaken for poison by white people, after they exchanged presents/food with white settlers. There was a battle shortly afterwards. It's honestly kind of hilarious how ridiculous these questions are, but also extremely unsettling that this is connected to Court and Grace, two young women that desperately need medical help. But if this is where they're getting it from, they're in trouble. But they may not know it, because the person behind all of this is listed on the site as Dr. Jan Yarn. And when looking at his LinkedIn, he has New York College of Osteopathic Medicine as his education. So one has no reason to believe that he isn't a fraud. Unless, of course, they're me and looking at this ridiculous website. But it's not just the website, because on the Google search of his name, underneath his LinkedIn account is an article: a battered doctor, a slain patient, and a family's quest for answers. Bakersfield, California. The police report is all David Cole Lang's family has to describe his last moments on Earth. 50 pages of officer narratives and witness interviews filled with grisly detail. It lacks any explanation for his death. 10 months later, Lang's widow, Monique, says she still has no clue as to why the 33-year-old combat veteran and father, who struggled with opioid addiction, ended up fatally shot by a doctor whom, as far as Monique knew, he hadn't seen in over a year. "I didn't understand why he was there," she said. "I still don't." On that April evening last year, according to interviews in the report, Lang yelled and cussed at the addiction and pain treatment doctor, Edwin Zong, in his office, and leapt across a desk to punch him repeatedly. Hearing the doctor scream for help, the last patient waiting to see Zong that day ran to open the door. He told police he found Lang standing over Zong, curled in a fetal position on the floor, his face covered in blood and the fear of a child in his eyes. "Hey," the patient yelled. When Lang turned toward the doorway, Zong told police. The doctor opened a desk drawer and grabbed a handgun. He fired 3 or 4 times. One bullet tore through the blood vessels in Lang's neck. He staggered outside, collapsed in a parking lot, and died. Okay, so you might be wondering how this is important to what's going on with these girls and Dr. Yarn. Well, further down in the article, the writer mentions that Edwin Zong, the man who just murdered his own patient, also goes by the name of Dr. Jan Yarn. But Zong, or Yarn, whatever you want to call him, says the death of David Cole Lang was not malicious, violent, or evil, but actually just self-defense. Treating many addiction patients put him in vulnerable and dangerous positions before, so he got a legal license to carry. And when David came into his office that day, he felt threatened. He said he was demanding for money, screaming things that the doctor couldn't make out. And before he knew it, David rushed towards him and started to attack him. He said it happened so fast, he didn't have a second chance to defend himself. Until that other patient walked in and David was distracted for a moment, Yarn used that split second and he did what he had to do in order to save himself. David Cole Lang's family calls bullshit. His wife acknowledges that he was suffering from a substance use disorder and not acting like himself, but that didn't matter. She can't believe he was trying to rob him. She doesn't necessarily have proof of this, but she really does not trust Yarn. It was an immediate gut reaction the first time she walked into his office. When her husband first started seeing him, she would sometimes go with him to the appointments. The atmosphere of his office was uncomfortable, and she didn't feel the treatment her husband was provided was all that effective. But she tried to brush this off as just anxiety, to trust a doctor who was supposed to be a medical professional, which of course all went right away when he killed her husband. She couldn't have felt crazy for feeling that way though, because she wasn't the only one. After the shooting, reporters talked to pharmacies around Bakersfield, and 3 of them all commented that they felt the prescriptions he sent in were always odd, and one even stopped accepting his scripts altogether. The main concern was that he would send in strange quantities of a medication, usually a number of 43 or 46. Most doctors prescribe the typical 30 or 60 to match a month's usage. But even more sketchy and horrifying is the amount of scripts he would send in that were a mix of sleeping pills, narcotics, and anti-anxiety medications, things that rarely should be mixed and can be very dangerous. After learning just a small amount of information on this guy, Medical Panorama feels so much more unsettling. These struggling, clearly unwell girls are somehow wrapped up in this strange doctor's life. A doctor whose real name we can't even be sure of, which just makes this even more terrifying. Who is this? And how does he know these girls? Well, one user on an r/RBI thread about the channel found a chilling photo of the doctor. It was taken shortly after the killing of David. The doctor is still dressed in his bloody clothes, standing awkwardly in front of the camera, in what appears to be his house, with his eyes closed. The whole thing is so bizarre. But what's even more haunting are the decorations in the back. Covering up a banner of some sort is a stocking with the letter C on it, along with some photos of a child. This doesn't seem that strange at first, but luckily, some had a sneaking suspicion that while the letter could be referencing hundreds of names, what if the C stood for Courtney, or Court, as we know her? Well, that hunch wasn't just intuition. Without much digging, you can find Courtney's Instagram and Facebook. She and Dr. Zong are either married or in a long-term relationship. They have kids together. Seeing how messed up she seems in the videos, I wouldn't be surprised if he supplies her with opioids. From the article, he's obviously a pretty sketchy doctor. That he is. And a marriage between the two of them also seems nothing less than shady. Or maybe I'm being judgmental. That's what Court thinks, at least. Because on another channel of hers, there are a couple of videos with comments that shed more light on the relationship. One viewer says, "Hope you got away from Dr. Zong." And Courtney responds, "Nope, we've been together for almost 9 years. I love him. He's my husband, dude. Matthew C., you can fuck off. He got me clean and does a lot for the community." That last comment only adds to the weird dynamic happening here. It puts into question the ethics of a doctor who entertained a relationship with a patient, something a professional, upstanding, and good doctor would not do. No matter how you look at it, the situation is alarming and disturbing. Honestly, even a little terrifying, especially the more someone thinks about it. User Scrippin has a good theory, even though it is terrible to actually consider, and still raises questions. Here's my hypothesis so far. Sources: what I've read on the thread here and the one on Deep into YouTube. The doctor who runs the channel seems to be prescribing these drug-addicted women with drugs in exchange for them to narrate these videos for his channel. Judging by the number of videos and their low viewership, the telltale needle sepsis wounds, and the fact that the alleged doctor involved is Chinese, and these same videos are mirrored on a Chinese language YouTube channel with equal viewership. If this is the case, why does he need these videos narrated by these women? It is pretty basic info that one could find with a Google search. A dedicated, low-quality video doesn't make much sense. Why are there only women? Why did he choose at least somewhat attractive women only? While I want to hope that there's some reasonable explanation for all of this, it's hard to believe there's not something sinister happening. Others feel the same way, replying back to the last post as a front for something else, like someone, maybe an authority, started asking questions as to why they visited so frequently or spent so much time at his office, and his cover was that they were employees. He makes videos to give them jobs. Or it's a way to make this seem legitimate when it is clearly not. Or the videos are a way to show other junkies that this is the doctor that will hook you up. Mostly everyone agrees there's something really wrong. Like I said, mostly everyone. Some think this is not all it's made out to be, that these posts are feeding into a drama that we are creating. Okay guys, this is what I've come to terms with. Everyone wants this to be some big thing. It's not. The doctor somehow supplies these girls with drugs and or money for it. I was an IV drug addict for 6 years and shit in my prime. I'd take this deal too. He probably gives them a place to stay and accommodates them. Maybe not. Maybe it is just the drugs. Who knows? They aren't being trafficked, and that is obvious because of all of their posting on social media. These girls are clearly choosing this lifestyle. In terms of the video with the wounds, that large wound was once an abscess. She missed a shot and it became infected. She even said my friend had the same thing. If you don't take antibiotics and or drain the abscess, you will eventually become septic and can die. Abscesses are very normal in an IV user's life. The bruises are just from using. Every time I used in my thighs, I bruised, even if I hit the vein perfectly. Really sorry to burst your bubble, but these girls are just addicts. Looks like on H and pills. I hope they receive the help they need because Life Clean really is worth it. I never would have thought so when I was using. This person is fully correct that these girls are definitely addicts. There are for sure drugs involved, but making this out to be no big deal seems irresponsible and heartbreaking that this story doesn't jump out as absolutely devastating. These women are being held captive by their addiction, and a doctor, someone whose only job is to help the public's health, is allegedly blatantly enabling their extremely unhealthy and dangerous lifestyle. But it's not just them. He was one of the most popular doctors in Bakersfield for addicts. Why? Because he's allegedly a legal drug dealer. He found a vulnerable population and found a way to allegedly legally sell them drugs in a way that'll keep them coming back again and again. Like I mentioned earlier, Yarn would prescribe people a mix of anti-anxiety medications, such as pills, something that around 5 million Americans abuse. And according to residents of his area and past patients, this was something he'd freely give out, without much second thought. A person could walk in and walk out with a drug they're addicted to, all in under 5 minutes. This man is allegedly profiting off of the struggles of one of the most at-risk populations. But that's just the bare minimum of what's happening. That's just what we know. Those other theories don't actually seem that far out of the realm of possibility for me, even if it does for others. Reality can be horrifying, and whatever is happening in those videos is not wholesome. That's how I felt when I watched Court's most recent video on her channel. McBride sisters, Gracie Jatton and Janessa Allen, Rip my stooges. Gracie. That name immediately stood out to me. The name of the girl everyone mentioned on the original r/deep into YouTube thread. And also at the bottom of the clinic site. English editing credit. Grace McBride. I look back and forth from that to Court's video. The McBride sisters. Rest in peace. I don't want it to be true, but it can't be a coincidence. No chance in hell. This has to be the same Grace. And when I went looking for that extra evidence, I was proven right. On Forever Missed, the website, Court makes an obituary page from what I learned was her best friend. Gracie's greatest joy was the birth of her son in 2008. The second greatest joy of her life was meeting her platonic soulmate in the summer of 2010. Me, LOL. Just kidding, but for real. Gracie made everyone she came in contact with feel special. She'll always be the #1 mommy in my eyes, and the best friend on this side of the universe. Number 2 girls, 1 brain forever. Loving you, my GG bear. Love your person. This is all of the information I could find on Gracie's death. No cause of death or any other details on her life before she died. But I do know she was allegedly involved with Dr. Yarn, and if she acted like Court in the videos, it's allegedly certain the 2 best friends were using the same thing. There's statistics for ODs on those drugs, and we don't need to get into detail to know that they aren't good. But this is all speculation and alleged. Maybe everyone is fine and living their lives the way they want to. All I know is that a life lived in addiction is a painful one leading to death, even if it's a spiritual and emotional death. And that's what is seen looking at Court. As she talks about the human heart on Medical Panorama, everyone suffering in that life deserves help. Someone that understands what they're going through and wants better for them. Not a self-centered, egotistical monster that allegedly exploits them and uses their drug use to allegedly benefit himself. He's supposed to be a doctor, but really, he's just fueling their addiction, giving them easy access, then using them for these videos, having them educate viewers on a healthy body, all the while keeping them very, very sick. And alright guys, that wraps up some disturbing corners of the internet. If you enjoyed today's video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means the world. Your guys' support is genuinely insane, and you guys are just the best community on YouTube, hands down. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a comment down below. Leave your thoughts, advice, concerns, or just kind feedback. You guys are too nice. And if you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you will enjoy some other videos on the channel. So go check out some other videos. And all right, yeah, enough yapping. Thank you guys so much for watching. And this is Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.